All right, Mekone, turn 33. We finished research and construction, level 3, moving on to evocation. We had 3 throne claims this turn. Looks like this is probably Helheim, Inner Throne, Arcocephali, and Atlantis. So yeah, Arcocephali is near us, so that matters a bit more. The other one's probably not super relevant for us. Missed with some site searching, as happens. And then caught a few battles, so it looks like this is some combat between Urmor and Pangea. This is kind of interesting. I don't really think much of these Earth Gnomes myself. This is like pretty heavy kitting. They do regenerate though, which is nice. They just have that built in. And yeah, this kit can work. I will say that like early age Urmor really kind of has a dearth of good thug chassis, so normally I'd say don't do this, but I don't know, as early age Urmor is like maybe it's not so crazy, because you just kind of need somebody to carry the gear. He's also like encumbrance 0, which means that this really heavy armor isn't going to be as bad as normal. He won't suffer from that. And Frostbrand, Vine Shield, pretty much like, as long as the chassis is not just garbage. This is pretty good Raider kit. It's just kind of expensive and yeah. But like I said, Urmor doesn't have a ton of options and it works out. So yeah. And then we caught a battle between Calum and Ulm. Calum just, doing their vulturing as they do. Yeah, this is actually definitely more than just province defense. Probably just some remains from that army that was defeated in Ulm. And then, just a bunch of these Spirehorn warriors. This is pretty standard. They're not great. They're in a cave, so they're not normally this bad. But, they're not fantastic troops. They're pretty low protection. But, they have storm immunity, right? So they can fly during storms, which is really nice. Obviously, they're flyers, so they just have built-in, shock and cold resistance, which is really nice. And probably the best thing is they just have, built-in magic weapons, which can be really good. And, they're pretty cheap. I forget. Yeah, they're not expensive. So you see them a lot from Calum. Definitely solid troops. They will struggle a bit in this cave, but he's got so many of them. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. And then he's got this Eagle King here, which is a slow to recruit, I think. Pretty expensive capital only mage, but very powerful. I think they always come in an Air 4. I'm pretty sure they get some randoms. They have Awe and a bunch of the other stuff. This shock and cold resistant is pretty common, at least on early age Calum. He's kind of... Yeah, I don't know, not really. You can thug these, I think, but they're so valuable and expensive that I don't really think that's a good idea. And I don't think that's what he's doing here. Probably, I don't think the Kalians wear a lot of helmets. See, here they are just murdering the backline. Yeah, no helmets on these guys. So I'm assuming that the Eagle King probably didn't have a helmet, which is why I threw one on it, just a real cheap helmet. So that's a good idea. And yeah, this is just, it increases his defense quite a bit. So if he does get into melee, 17 is not, oh, interesting. So does he have, he's got Spirit Sight. Yeah, it's probably on the Bless. I don't think they normally get Spirit Sight. And I think Spirit Sight's one of those things that's just always active. Because he's not actually blessed right now. Yeah, he's just thrown in some Orb Lightning, pretty good. Does a lot of AoE, so it's very easy to get friendly fire, but again, these guys got some shock resistance, so not enough to resist a Thunderstrike. He is, he's okay with the darkness. It just, yeah, Thunderstrike's precision is not fantastic. So you can definitely, if you're throwing down a lot of Thunderstrikes, you can expect some friendly fire if you have some troops out there. But, again, these are really cheap, so, it's fine. So, yeah, that goes pretty well for him. 18, that's not great. But, you're in a cave. That can be kind of dicey. Cavemen in a cave, they can be dangerous. So, yeah, I'd say this is a pretty good trade for him. And he comes away with the province. Probably annoying Niflheim a little bit, since, Niflheim just did a bunch of the lifting. Maybe they discussed it. Yeah, I don't know. I know Ulm definitely mentioned that he was being attacked by Calum and Niflheim, and most of my scouting attention was on Niflheim, but possibly Calum had some big pushes I didn't see. And this is just us raiding back with our Polomark group. Yeah, they're okay. They're kind of repelly, which actually should work pretty well against these Wolf Tribe, although probably not really going to matter. They do actually have lower armor, yeah, but with Iron Warriors, they have really high protection, so like the fact that they're going to be repelling a bunch, probably kind of incidental, because these guys are going to really struggle to deal any damage with their daggers anyway. You see the archers, though, they're just going after our caster, who did manage to protect himself, so that's good. That's, if you have a giant who's buffing your guys up, a lot less likely to get taken out by the random arrows, or just, the one random Wolf Tribe guy who decides he's going to get the mage at all costs. But, big old giant fist takes care of that. So anyway, yeah, this is way more investment than you need against, even medium PD. I think this is a little more than 6, but yeah, so I think that's the last bit of the Ulm stuff in our territory. So, finally clearing that out like 10, 15 turns later and another war later. So, yeah, probably should have been a little quicker on that. But yeah, we discussed the trepidation there. And then this is one of our counter-raiding groups going up. I think this is the Earth guy. Yeah, the Earth guy and our Prophet probably with some Gigantes just up against minimal PD. So didn't catch any raiders. Yeah, we get it back. That's good. And some unexpected events. I think some of these are, because there's a lot of fertility. Yeah, so there's somebody claimed the Throne of Gaia. And I don't know if it triggers these events. It might, but it definitely triggers, this is just some luck, so that's nice. Would have liked to see more gold with luck 3, but maybe we don't have our scales there. Some earth gems, very nice. And then some, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Cool. We just get some Hoburg. I don't even know if I noticed this when I was playing. But yeah, the throne claim triggers these attacks. So we lose this province, and then Ermor gets attacked in the province they just raided, and his kitted out Earth Gnome can take on his brethren that are unkitted. So that's kind of interesting. You don't see that every day. And then, patrolling, somebody was eliminated, Relay was eliminated. And then we get a new hero, which is cool. I think, what is it, toughness? Yeah, increased number of hit points, which is nice, definitely. Yeah, wow, plus 17. I wonder if that's tied to, I feel like this is more than I normally get if, a human troop gets this ability. So it might be tied to, their overall pool, but yeah, 52. That's a significant boost. So if we can get some regeneration on him, that's good. Yeah, these heroic traits can matter a lot if you're really trying to focus on a thug, or a super combatant sort of strategy, and they really vary wildly in terms of how useful they are. Some of them are actually kind of detrimental. Only a few, and more of them are kind of incidental. But yeah, I would say this is one of the better ones. So that's nice. So yeah, what are we doing? Continuing counter raid, trying to get our stuff back now from Independence, from TNN, and yeah, continuing our march south as part of our grand plan. It kind of looks like I wasn't expecting him to move out, but this does kind of look like he's headed for Hinnom. So I mean, I was looking at this and it's okay, this feels kind of like confirmation, right? It's 1 or 2 more turns. Well, I mean, 2 more turns and he'll be able to drop all this siege chaff on top of Hinnom. 3 turns if he's going for Mekone, but again, I just don't think that's likely. And then he could definitely precede this siege chaff with his main army. So I'm thinking that his main army is, probably already in position, looking to jump on, probably going to be some renewed raiding. Now, I mean, that may change, right? Because now he's seen me mass in this province. And on the flip side, this is now in position to cut off my retreat path. And, I'm kind of preparing for that. Yeah, 1 Polomark could work. Probably not. This is a little thin. So doing some site searching with the goddess, which is good. Normally, like throne provinces are much more likely to have magic sites on them. And, she's got 3 paths we don't have. We've discussed that. Having your site search is not crazy, but probably actually should have moved her into this province, right? Because like this, she can definitely beat. Right, like he probably can't beat the full stack of all of his sacreds, and certainly if he brings a bunch of casters, that's going to be trouble for her. But defeating a bunch of trash, like absolutely she can do that. So yeah, probably should have moved her here. As it stands, like this is pretty risky. We could have a retreat path cut. I mean, that said, like, who needs retreat paths when you're just going to win? So, what do we have? I don't think this has really been reinforced. We've kind of talked through it. It's kind of what we've seen before. Yeah, I don't know, right? It really depends. If we manage to get, like, the Maws of the Earth down and the Earth grips off, then I think, our Giants are going to trade really effectively with his Sacreds. If we don't, then they're not going to trade so effectively. Yeah, because they're just not going to be able to hit them. A little light in terms of mage support, I would say. I don't know. It's hard. I go back and forth. So every time I bring out a ton of mages, I just look at it and it's like, oh, this is so much research that I'm losing out on. Why did I commit all these mages? But now on the flip, I'm looking at this and it's like, man, I could have committed more mages, Maybe not a ton more, honestly. Like, could have committed some Cyclopses, maybe. We do have some counter-raiding operations going. Like, these guys would have been good, probably. We are doing some patrolling. More patrolling than we were doing before. Let's see, we're leaving our Peltasts at home. Okay, we're just going to, poop out a bunch of fire elementals and maybe retreat. Hopefully retreat. Yeah. Okay, cool. Good work, past me. So I agree with that decision. Because, a bunch of lesser fire elementals is not going to stop, like, his big old stack of sacreds. But they don't have fire resistance, right? So this is just designed to bleed his gems and, bleed some of his troops, like, prior to the main assault. So I think this is solid. Like, we're gonna poop out a bunch of fire elementals. We've also pumped up the province defense here. Do we have anybody else patrolling? Yeah, just our one air gem guy. So that won't hurt. But anyway, yeah, like, if he hits us real hard, like, we probably won't be able to stop it with what we have here, realistically. We still have the Peltasts inside. We can't actually quite do flaming arrows. Once we make it to enchantment 4, we can do flaming arrows, which will help, because any projectile counts, right? So the 2 javelins, they definitely count, and a bunch of additional fire damage will help a lot, because he doesn't have fire resistance on his bless. Like 120 flaming javelins, like that's going to make a dent, and we can throw a bunch more fire elementals at him again. And, we have a few other mages in here, but yeah, I think realistically we won't be able to stop his main army. So it'll be a bit of a trade, and it's just a question of, like, are we going to take more casualties, taking Marverni from him, or is he going to take more casualties taking Hinnom from us, and then where does it go from there? I am expecting the rating to kind of step up more around Hinnom, as in preceding his main attack. So we'll see if that happens. It's definitely risky, like, pushing as deep in, but I've talked about, I'm pretty committed, and this move, while yes, like, it could screw us over, it also does kind of confirm my suspicions about where he was heading, and really in a lot of ways is less ideal, right? Because, like, now if he sees this, he can either try to cut the retreat path or he can move into Marverni, right, and then block our siege of that. So it'll kind of depend. If he moves back into Marverni, then we might just try to crack this fort, right? Because now he can't. Before, when this stack of garbage was in Marverni, it would have been able to move in this turn and prevent us from taking this, right? But, like, this looks basically empty. So would I rather have Marverni? Absolutely. But just taking this fort, that's going to be a win. So, you know, I still think it's worthwhile, even though we might not get a cap out of it. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And then in terms of, let's see, recruitment, yeah, you know, just more polo marks, a couple more Gigante hoplites, peltasts. What are we doing over here? Just peltasts, you know, doubling down on our projectiles. And then, yeah, research. Let's see, we're going for Evo 3, which we will get this turn, which will be nice. Fireball, definitely going to be useful for us. You know, it's kind of decent AoE, you know, fatigue, and okay, only area of effect 1, but not too fatiguing, especially for our Fire 3 guys, who will probably just be dumping out fire elementals. But anyway, definitely a good low-level spell. Magma Bolts, also not bad, also something we can cast. Yeah, you know, I don't know, is this going to, like, change the balance, you know, of the fight in Hinnom? Probably not, but it, you know, will make it more costly for him. And then, yeah, Enchantment 4 gets us a couple of things. Poison Ward is possibly a critical one. It's not the greatest area of effect, but, you know, it's decent, and Poison Resistance 10 will help a lot, so getting this on our Gigante Hoplites in the case of a Foul Vapors attack will be really nice. And then, you know, I've talked about Flaming Arrows, definitely something we can cast with all of our Peltasts. You know, it's definitely going to be nice. Cloud Trapeze is something that we can take advantage of, not in great numbers. In fact, I don't know if we have anybody yet. Yeah, no, we don't. So we can't take advantage of that yet. But in theory, we're making another E4. We must be pretty broke. But in theory, these guys can be air too. So it is something that we might be able to take advantage of eventually. And then let's see. Also, Twiceborn is something that at least our goddess can do. It's going to be fairly expensive, but possibly nice. So yeah, and I mean, enchantment is something I think that Mekone does want to go up for a couple of reasons. So Dragon Teeth is a really strong spell. You know, you only need Earth 2. It does cost a gem, but just the 1. And it brings in 10 of like these magic like hoplites. I think they're undead. Or yeah, they're skeletal. I think they're magic beings actually, because they're not truly undead. Anyway, they're pretty effective. They get magic weapons. Like, yeah, it's a great, you know, if you want to dump in some earth gems in a battlefield summons, this is a really good one. Eternal Pyre is something that we can probably cast. Might have to work at it a little bit. But yeah, definitely something that we're close to. And then, you know, a couple of the other like earth globals, and then eventually Earthblood Deepwell is something we'd be very interested in, and, you know, something that we'd have to work a little bit to cast this, but doable probably for us. So yeah, I mean, I think, you know, enchantment is a strong school and something that I think that Mekone wants specifically, so, you know, making it up a little bit closer. Also, you know, eventually Serpent's Blessing, pretty far away. But, you know, this will protect us against like that foul vapor. We'll have to worry about foul vapors a lot less. Still have to worry about that Wrathful Skies, but, you know, yeah, there's not really a whole lot you can do about that. So yeah, not a bad choice. We're a long way off though. Our research is, you know, yeah, not fantastic. Especially for turn 33. But, you know, again, you know, this is where just not having a lot of forts, you know, we're just falling farther and farther behind in terms of the mage count, you know, because like at best we're getting 2 mages a turn. And so, you know, you're just going to be slower in research and you have fewer options for mages. So yeah, definitely really struggling this game. You know, yeah, doing the 2v1 was a mistake. Not cutting, you know, should have cut some production earlier. You know, definitely once we started the war with Hinnom and Ulm, there wasn't really ever a point where I felt super secure in terms of starting a fort in a location that I wanted, but probably should have just accepted some suboptimal places. Like, honestly, probably could have got like a fort here, or, you know, somewhere like pretty far away from Ulm once the war with Hinnom died down. Yeah, or I mean, obviously, like, just getting a fort here sooner. It's a little close, you know, to where Ulm was, but yeah, definitely something that we could have protected. So yeah, that, you know, it's a mistake. And we're feeling its effects now, definitely, in terms of like falling behind in terms of research. So yeah, that's not ideal. But yeah, doing what we can, and hopefully gonna turn this war around a little bit, and give TNN something to think about. I don't think we're probably going to knock them out completely, but we may not need to. He has other neighbors, so if we can convince him that we're not the right target and that this is going to be too much work, then convince him to leave us alone, and then build some forts, try to get back in this game. So yeah, I think that covers turn 33. All right, Mekone, turn 34. We got a message from the host. This happens sometimes. Yeah, Dominions is not a perfect game, not a AAA title. This does pop up from time to time. I don't actually think Agartha is cheating here. Certainly, if they are cheating, they are not using it to create an insane lead. I don't think they're in position 1, not by a long shot. So, yeah, not sure what's up with this stuff, but yeah, something happened that the client was confused by. That happens to me all the time, so I hear you, client. We finished research and evocation, moving on to enchantment 4, which we've talked about. There's a throne claim. This looks like probably underwater. Yeah, this is Therados. So not too relevant for us. One of our E4s was attacked by devils. Something Hellgate. Oh yeah, this is the guy that I think he sold his soul, I think, if I'm remembering. So he had some earth gems on him. He might have been, yeah, and he got this path in blood. Yeah, is it really worth it, buddy? Like, now you're in the underworld. And he was probably, because he has some gems on him, there's a good chance he was supposed to be supporting our army, but instead he's just getting owned by devils in the underworld because somebody sold his soul. So yeah, that did not work out for him. Do not sell your soul. And then yeah, our searching we didn't find anything on the throne, so that's sad. And then we caught a battle. It's just a ping. Russ is trying to find out what Machaka has in Saramatia. It's quite a bit from the look of it, so yeah, we don't need to worry about that too much. And then, yeah, just more vulturing, the same squad that we saw from Calum, and, they can take out one warrior chief, no problem. So, yeah, nicely done by Calum, picking up a lot of territory on the cheap. And then we had a battle in Titan's Steps. This was that fort that we were trying to move on top of. Our glorious army, and, whoops. Turns out the elves were waiting for us. Not just the elves, too. So he moved, this is his god, a Frost Father. He's notably, I think, one of, if not the cheapest, rainbow chassis. So you see the Frost Father a decent amount, if you're going for a rainbow build. He has not gone full rainbow. But yeah, this is where he's getting like that really strong bless from. And then yeah, probably just a little bit of extra pathing for, magic diversity and stuff like that. So yeah, this is a ton of his sacreds. Yeah. He's got some casters too. The other thing, he's got a lot of archers, which I was not expecting. He must have moved him in maybe from the capital. I think they actually are. Yeah, they're not super fast, but they do have some survivals. Just the forest survival. These guys, though, are extremely fast. So the bless has gone off, and they have a combat speed of 44, which is absolutely bananas, and is going to cause some problems here. So, we're going through our first set of spells, right? So we're getting, like, a blessing down, and then, like, yeah, these guys have, like, some gems, and they're doing, like, summon earth power and such. And then I think he just dropped, speaking of flaming arrows, actually, okay, so they don't do as much interrupting as I was worried about, because they get tied up. They're probably on an attack rear, and they just get hung up on our peltasts. But yeah, that's a lot of fire arrows. Luckily, we're giants, so, this guy's got stone skin on himself. But yeah, these dogs cause problems. So all these guys are on attack closest, which normally I feel like is probably the right order. Sometimes people use attack rear. Honestly, like, either of them can go poorly. In this case, attack close really kind of screwed us, because pretty much our entire army gets focused on this little squad of dogs, which is not great. And then they also brought in Howl, so that's going to cause us problems. But yeah, so I'm not even sure, like, yeah, there's a couple guys, right, that have, been earth melded, out here, and we may have gotten a few guys with Maws of the Earth. But unfortunately, like, our casters are, now unsupported. In fact, they're mostly dead. As a wall of his sacreds move up. And, our troops were supposed to be moving forward to prevent our casters from getting eliminated. And yeah, here's like another earth meld. And like, hey guys, hey, maybe these guys. But no, they're going to make sure they're going to wipe these dogs out. So yeah, this is pretty bad. They're through to the Peltas line now. Like I said, like most of our casters are dead or, fatigued out. Like they've done most of the casting that they're gonna do, right? And now these guys are like, oh, okay, hey, you shoot a bunch of elven sacreds, huh? What are we supposed to do about that? So and he's got like some of those what are they, fairies? Sprites. So that's good, gonna fatigue our guys out. And the flaming arrows isn't honestly like too bad for us. I mean, it's gonna chew up our peltasts, but I mean everything chews up our peltasts. I actually think the flaming arrows ends up doing more damage to his troops than ours, just because we have really heavy armor. But very difficult for our guys to get hits in, and now that we're outnumbered, so we're not going to be driving their defense down really all. I mean, this is just, I don't want to say it's an unmitigated slaughter, but it's pretty bad though. it's pretty bad. One thing about being like the heavily armored hoplites, they don't move so fast, and then he's got like the swiftness on the bless. So like yeah, these guys are pretty fast. I think our armored guys are combat speed 11. Not a lot of people escape. So let's see, that was Titan Steps. Yeah, I mean, we lose, not quite everything, like 20 some odd units escape, maybe, probably some of that in the retreat. We lose a lot of the casters, like most of the Polemarchs, all of the Giganti hoplites, most of our expansion Giganti hoplites, like, yeah. And I mean, it's not like he loses nothing. I mean, he doesn't really care so much about these dogs. There's summons. They're not expensive. They're not cheap either, but, 14 of them, no problem. These guys are more expensive, losing 17 of these she-warriors hurts. And then his sacreds, losing 25 of those, is definitely significant. Those are capital only. I don't really think... I mean, we had some kills, definitely. Some of this was probably like wolves and stuff, though, because you can see, his archers got quite a few kills. So yeah, hard to say exactly, what did all the killing on his sacreds, but I just don't think, with only attack skill 13 and not really getting the advantage of that earth meld or Maws of the Earth, very unlikely that they're going to be hitting these sacreds who, normally have defense 17, but with that heavy bless, they're up in the 20s. Every once in a while they might get a hit in, but yeah, so... This was a mistake. Definitely, I mean, marching out, to go force a battle with the elves, to just go fucking kill them kind of strategy. You do need to be able to make sure that you can kill them, that you can beat their main army. And we did not have that part of the equation. So yeah, we lost an E4 in the retreat, and then, yeah, a few guys made it back to friendly territory. But yeah, that went pretty poorly. This is a huge win for TNN. And so this is that other stack of garbage. Not just a stack of garbage. Also has not a ton of sacreds, but some sacreds along with some of these she warriors, right? Who, again, with the glamour and the stealthy. So he actually went the option of, let's see, I think this is here, right? So I was thinking like, okay, well his main force, must be in the north here to threaten Hinnom, but it looks like, why pick when you can do both? So, he has enough stuff that he clearly felt that, splitting was a viable option. And I mean, certainly in the south here, absolutely viable. I mean, yeah, this is what's left. So yes, that's not good. In the good news department, we did raid back, a few of our provinces. So that is good news. But yeah, let's see. Is there anything else in terms of worldwide event? Okay, the forces of Gaia are slumbering. That throne event is now done. We caught an Armorian scout, so clearly our allies also felt that there was a good chance that TNN would be going after Hinnom. And then, we got a hero, unequaled obesity. This is one of those not so good traits that I was talking about, so that's kind of sad. Let's see. So he gets, more hit points and strength, but increased encumbrance. So you can see, only +3. The severe cold is not helping him. But yeah, this is just going to go up and up and up, and these guys just tend to fall asleep. So I'm sure there are things you can do with this, and probably certain chassis where the extra fatigue and stuff doesn't really matter. So it's not like this is always bad, but I think this actually kind of makes this pull mark worse. So that's kind of sad, but it happens. So yeah, continuing to raid back our stuff, no reason, not to, just because we may have already lost the war. Maybe not, we'll see. Now we're going to be on the defensive, very, very much on the defensive for probably the foreseeable future / maybe the rest of the game. To that end, so this is definitely a big army. Let's take a quick look, but it's not unbeatable, right? These Furbolg are good, but they're not great. Their protection is low, right? So it's they have good skills, but if you can get the hit, that's going to be good news. And no helmet, so projectiles are good news. And the monkey archers is fine, right? This is just some siege chaff, so the militia don't really even matter in a actual fight. He does have a good amount of his sacreds. So, that's going to be the major problem. Although not all of these are his sacreds, right? He's got mixed in to kind of make out the numbers, these she warriors, who are still really good. Also, though, no, protection, not great. So, I think we do have a chance. So, we're patrolling with everything. Before we're going to just try to hide in the fort, and burn out, some of his stuff. And kind of in the thought that, we might be able to bring some stuff up, to come help. But, now, there's no more cavalry. Just threw away my only field army. So, I've increased even more PD investment because, we have so much gold. But your instant army, because we're never going to be able to recruit this. So, this is actually, a solid amount of stuff here. And, we're going to add on to it a bunch more peltasts. So, we have a ton of projectiles. And do we have... Unfortunately... We're not going to have flaming arrows, which is very sad, because that would help us a lot with all these projectiles, and we do have guys that could cast it. So, we just didn't quite make it in terms of the research. But still, all those projectiles are going to help a lot. They don't care about defense score, and they love the fact that there aren't a lot of helmets. So I do think that this is a fight that we can win. With our numbers to drive down the defense, right? Because we are bringing, just a lot of chaff to the table, along with, these guys are very killy as long as they can land a blow. So we've got the numbers to drive the defense down, the giants to do the killing, an absolute rain of projectiles, along with, our magical support. So, a little bit of the one air elemental, blast out a bunch of lesser fire elementals. Not fantastic, but, no fire resistance really to speak of. Throwing out some of those fireballs. That's pretty much it. Maybe should have patrolled with this guy, but, we're doing a little bit of forging with him. We don't have a ton of guys that can do water forging. So, yeah. Is this enough to stop this? I don't know, but certainly if we just lose the PD, we have nothing. Honestly, anything that we recruit in Mekone, we kind of need to defend Mekone now to defend our capital, because we're kind of wide open here. Sending our pretender over, maybe in the hopes to, if it does get sieged, she probably can't reach. Yeah, not sure about this move here. It is possible that, she catches a raider here, which should work out. So yeah, not 100% sure about this move, because realistically, this is probably going to be over, because she moves real slow, as we know. So it's just sort of a one province a turn move, generally speaking. So she's probably not going to be able to catch whatever's going on over here. So maybe you should have just moved her back in the lab, to do some forging or casting. But like I said, could catch a raider. That would be nice. We still need to eliminate raiders. I'm sure he still has plenty available, so he could turn back on the raiding machine at any time, and now is probably a good time to do that, right? Because we just suffered a huge loss. Now is the time to step up the pressure. So maybe just expecting, some raiding. In that vein, maybe should have just hung out and searched. I am kind of expecting the raiding to be focused more around my forts. And I would like to keep this path open to this very valuable province. And this is sort of very much on the periphery. So not thinking it's a little less likely there's going to be a raid here. But yeah, could have searched it, could have actually researched with this random laboratory and, just sort of left this guy in place. Maybe also thinking that, we're going to need him on the capital probably is the other thing. So it's all well and good to sit and, try to catch raiders. But if you're about to lose your capital because you just lost your main army, maybe get everybody home to try to make a capital defense. So probably also thinking along those lines. Yeah, at this point, I think I let, Ermor and Calum know, I definitely didn't blast out, to my other, to Niflheim or Arco that I had just taken a huge loss, although there's a good chance that they saw it. But certainly not going to advertise that to them because still want them to join the war. But I did let Calum and Ermor know that, the jig is probably up. I think I told them 10 or 15 turns and I'm probably going to be done. Because taking a huge loss like that, I do think I can hold off TNN for a while. Our forts are going to be a real hassle, to take because, we pretty much have army in a box kind of thing. And we can support it with our casters. So, I do think that will be a tough nut to crack, but once he starts hammering again with the rating, he's just going to be able to wear us down and, having lost, we can't really effectively replace that army in time. So I think that I don't really see a way out of this long term. Whether or not 10 or 15 turns is accurate, I don't really know. I've never actually been completely eliminated from a game before, so I don't really know. Sometimes you can hang on for a long time, and absolutely that is the plan. Just hang on to the bitter end. But TNN seems like a decent player. He has a lot of he has at least 2 armies, and we basically have no armies at this point. So yeah, it's not looking good. I feel 10 to 15 turns is not unrealistic. And again, there's not really a whole lot they can do about it. I wasn't really expecting a ton of support from them anyway. It was more really almost just sort of a courtesy to let them know that hey, certainly for Calum, it's you're probably going to have TNN, as your neighbor in the not too distant future, sort of just as a heads up, and keeping him abreast. I just feel it's a reasonable thing to do as an ally. Calum does kind of border TNN naturally now, right? He's continuing to vulture Kailasa. I don't actually know if they've been eliminated yet. Let's take a look. I don't think so. Yep, nope, they're still in it. But they've lost a lot, clearly, because all this used to be, Gilasa's territory, and now it's Calum's. But while technically he does border, this is such an awkward border. It's really kind of an unnatural border. And to launch a war through a connection like this, around, it just makes absolutely no sense. pretty much any other war that Kalen could take, I think would make more sense than, trying to attack TNN through this weird dongle. So yeah, that it was probably should have stayed home, and built a fort and try to attacking is definitely more dangerous and more difficult. So when you're up against somebody that's bigger than you, trying to launch into an offensive can work, right? It really just depends on like what the research level is and the relative army strengths. If you can happen to catch somebody that's bigger, at a moment where they don't really have large armies, like that can work. But I mean, considering that this was a war of TNN's choosing, that was probably never going to be the case. So yeah, the offensive obviously went really poorly. At the same time, if we just try to sit on a fort here, and let him get even more research and like offer like a really obvious juicy target, I do feel like the longer that you just leave an army sitting out in the open, especially in the same province turn after turn, you're just sort of like asking for trouble. Because like people can bounce scouts off of it and like see its exact composition, right, and oftentimes get a decent idea of what it's scripted to do, and then set up something specific to destroy it. So to leave an army sitting for 5 turns, waiting for a fort to come up, so we can get some Blizzard Shaman eventually and more Peltasts. I don't know. I'm still not convinced that this was the wrong... I mean, obviously, in retrospect, it was the wrong move. But, if I were playing this game again, I think there's a good chance that I probably would have made the same decision. I don't think it was a crazy decision. So, yeah. Let's see, research, right, trying to get the flaming arrows and etc. And then, going to do some more evocation research, because realistically, like, our mages are going to be fighting a lot. Evocation is nice for Mekone. 6 would be really nice, I think we've discussed before. Flame Eruption is really good. Magma Eruption is really good. So we have lots of, good evocation options and lots of mages to do that evocation. So yeah, I think that's a solid choice in this case. Obviously would prefer to do like some construction so we can get some, research boosters and things like that. But, at this point, it's looking like, what can we do with what we have left? So yeah, turn 34, it was definitely a rough one, but we're not out of it yet. We have 2 capitals, we have plenty of PD, we have some mages, we'll see what we can do.